Alright guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. So, over here we have a Ender 3 V2 Neo with a 4.2.2 motherboard. Everything's stock except for the 3D printed direct drive bracket and the dual gear extruder. You really don't have to make many modifications to do this. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get this thing going and we're going to set it up, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step on what it takes to get this printer printing. Okay, let's just assume that you know absolutely nothing and you just bought one of these on Amazon for $199 and you can't figure it out. Power switch is back here. We'll turn that on. This is a custom firmware, but your firmware would look extremely similar to this, okay? So, we'll zoom into the screen here. See if the flash helps any. So, this does not have auto bed leveling, and none of your $169 Enders on Amazon do. And this particular printer is $199 on Amazon. You can get used ones on eBay for $99, but they're sold for as parts. They're basically returns, probably from Amazon. Anyway, when you get one of these, it's going to come with either a glass bed or it's going to come with the magnetic PC sheet, which is polycarbonate. It's not PEI. It's not spring steel. It's just going to be like a magnetic refrigerator mat. And those are fine, but the reason that we're using the glass print bed is because glass is extremely consistent and very flat. So with this particular printer here, we would be using, I don't know, you guys could use whatever you want. We've got this weird stuff over here. This is PLA. PLA is going to be the easiest material for you to print. Got some glow-in-the-dark stuff here. We got a little bit of PETG left. I would recommend, if you're going to start 3D printing and you want to make structural or strength related parts, you learn to print the PETG. Okay. I will go ahead and, for just this video, we'll go ahead and use this stuff. This is some kind of silk copper colored stuff. And what you're going to do is you need to cut this stuff at an angle. Okay? Like that. And then you need to go into, let me see if I can zoom in, the menu here, and you'll need to preheat. But before you do that, let's just say you just got this thing, you got it all put together, and you did all that. You're going to need to get yourself a piece of typing paper, okay? And let me go find mine. So you're going to need typing paper, and you want to heat the bed and the print nozzle, but you do not want filament in it, and we'll explain why here in a little bit. So I'm going to get this thing a little bit closer. Okay, so your menu is going to look a little differently than mine, but we go into prepare. I'm used to using other printers, so a lot of times I go in and try and touch the screen. So this particular firmware is free to download if you can find it on you'll find it on GitHub. We're gonna go ahead and preheat PLA. And usually you'll have PLA and ABS only. And so what that does is, you'll see down here, it starts to heat the print head and the print bed. And the print bed, as it heats, it's going to change. It's going to, you know, maybe even warp, you know, whatever. And also the print nozzle will do the same thing. So you want it to be heated up before you go ahead and try and do anything. So now, once it's heated up, then you can go in and do the adjustments. And so on this particular one here, we're going to go into let's see if it has it. Control settings. So this one's a little bit different than your typical one. It has what they call bed tramming. And this is why I highly suggest that you use this software. But if you're using the regular one, it really doesn't make it clear. So I'll make another video using one. Actually, nope, I don't have one that has stock firmware anymore. So front left, front right, back left. And as soon as I do that, it's going to home. And then it's going to go to that corner, okay? And what you want to do is push this button again so it'll lift up, and then you'll put your paper here. Okay, you should be able to drag the paper in between the nozzle but not push it forward. Okay, and then after you do that one, if you have to, you adjust this wheel underneath here. Okay, these particular ones, it's a good idea to upgrade the springs. This one, it hasn't been upgraded, but it's okay. So now we go front right. Well, let's put our paper out here first, okay? Okay. Now we can see that one's fine. Let's go back right. A little bit tight. Well, we're not going to mess with it. Okay. Now we go back left. Pretty good. So, then the next thing that you would do after that, you would click back, and then you would go back, and you would go to control, and you would click store settings. Okay? It's important that you do that. So now, this is assuming everything else is set correctly. You need to adjust your Z-axis, but that's something that you've gotten the bed level with the nozzle. So in this case, you really shouldn't need to mess with the Z, but you can move the Z further or closer together while you're printing. So if you click home, the Z-axis, we can see here we're at 0.45. So that's our offset. And we see my paper is under here. If I change this number to, like, we go up higher, 66, see? It just floats in there. And if we go like 41, I can barely move it. So you want it somewhere where you could just, you know, you can't push it through, but you can pull it. And the reason that you don't want the filament in here is because if there's filament on the tip of the nozzle, it'll throw these readings off. So you want to make sure this is all set good. So when it says whatever the number is here, usually it's going to be negative. The reason that mine is different is because of how my print bed is and that I have glass on it. Okay, so click 4 or 5, and then you'll go click back. You'll go over here to control. You click store settings, and you're done. So now you can do this more than one way, but what I like to do is just go ahead and let me see if this thing is not giving me the option to zoom out very well. Okay, so we're going to take our filament here and we're going to load it. Okay, push down on this. I'll run it through here, and I'll go into here and prepare, and I'll click move axis, and I'm going to move the Z. This is moving at 77. It's going to go up 77 millimeters. Okay. And what that's going to let me do is I can get in here and I can see the bottom of my nozzle. Okay, I can squeeze this and I run it. I can see the old filament coming out the bottom here. Okay, but the other thing I can do is go down here to move extruder, and we're going to move it, let's say 20 millimeters. Okay, it will start extruding now. These gears are going to turn slowly, and the filament is going to come through here because we've already preheated the print bed. And see, now we can see we've went from black to copper, and we're basically ready to start printing a test print. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that real quick too. Okay, so your printer likely came with an SD card and an adapter of some such, probably one of these. So what you're going to want to do is take that and get it ready for your computer. And you can either download the Cura for your printer, or in this case of the Creality Ender 3 V2 or any of those variants, you can just get Creality print. A lot of people don't like the Creality print, but I think that it works pretty good. But while that's loading, we'll go ahead and click on the Cura also. They're very slow to load on most printers. So, okay. This software closed abnormally, whether to open up the saved project or not, blah blah blah. Cancel. That's just because I shut down the computer without closing everything out. Okay, so when you go into here and you've downloaded Creality Print, you're going to go into here and you'll click add a printer. Okay, and then you'll pick your series of printers, the Ender series, CR series, whatever. I don't know why there's Sonic Pad. I do have one of those. So you go Ender series, and you'll see here's an Ender 3 V3, Ender 3 V3 KE, SE, Ender 2 Pro, Ender 3. So the Ender 3 is kind of similar to some of these other ones. What do you know? Microsoft always wanting something stupid. Ender 3 S1. You have all these different ones. You click it, and then you'll add it, and then you need to change some certain things. If you're going to print PLA, usually the settings are pretty good. I'm going to go PLA 1.75 here, and if you need to edit the settings, you'll go in here and you'll click edit, and you can change things like the percentage of the infill, which is important. So infill density is how much something prints. If you put 0, it'll print hollow. And there's an infill pattern, which would be these choices here: grid, gyroid, honeycomb, lightning, lines, one wall, quarter cubic, octet. They have different ones. Triangles, zigzag, trihexagon. So let's say we want triangles, and we want, I like 20% infill on anything, just no matter what. And so we need to check what's the speed of the printer. It's 50 millimeters. Travel speed's 120. This is pretty average for these printers. Anything faster than that, and these printers tend to kind of choke. So click save. Another thing, let's go back here. I forgot to show you. Material. And where it says material, you will click that. That would be your print temperature. If you're going to do PLA, you can be somewhere between 190 and probably all the way up to 220 on some. But usually 200 is a good number to start with. Probably even a little on the hot side. Print bed temperature, 60 degrees is pretty average for that. I found that sometimes it doesn't stick as well, and I'll go up to 70. There's also some other stuff like the cooling fan and the extruder speed. These are more advanced settings, so not necessarily something that you need to be playing with at this point. So we would go to a website like I prefer printables.com, to be honest with you. Where'd it go? Just because Thingiverse is really popular, but they just make you wait like 30 seconds when you download something. It's kind of annoying. But between Printables and Thingiverse and another website called Cults, most of the stuff's pretty much free. And this one will ask all kinds of permissions and stuff when it starts to load, and you just tell it no. Okay, you don't want this thing. They don't need cookies. They don't need to be tracking you. It's stupid. Usually this one's already asked me something by now. Their website is a little laggy. So we're going to go over here. We're going to type in Benchy. B-E-N-C-H-Y. Or short for bench test. And we're just going to go ahead and hit enter. We're not going to select any of that stuff down there. Now, there are different models galore. The typical one that everybody prints, I'm going to see if I can find it, is this particular one. And so we'll click this, and you see here, this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, they don't float either. They have this funky little hole in the back. I don't know why they don't float. Why don't they make them float? That's a good question. So you'll go down here. You can read a little bit about it. I'll tell you, blah blah blah. Anyway, you click download here, and you'll see there's G code. That's probably for a Prusa printer. Okay, I don't want the G code. G code means it's already been sliced, so we want the .stl file. And we click that, and we'll download it. And the other thing that they don't do here is they don't compress the files. But when you download from Thingiverse, they're compressed, and then you have to unzip them and all this other crap. And I just really don't see why that's necessary when the files are already so slow or so small. So now we go into Creality Print, and we'll go over here to see this folder here. We'll click that, and then we'll go figure out where the hell we downloaded this at. Okay, and you see Benchy. We click on it, and boom, it opens. Okay, our printer is selected here. Ender 3V2 Neo 0.4 nozzle, because that's what we have on it. That's what it comes with. We've got PLA selected. Okay, and if you want to change this, you can fiddle around a lot with this. You see these arrows, you can move it, different parts of the print bed. over here you can scale it down. Over here you can rotate it. You know, you can do lots of things. You can add support, but this is a bench test. Don't add support. Make sure support's not on. Now once it's here, let's go click slice, okay? And once we do that, if it's a really big file, it'll take a long time to do. I mean, like, I've sat here 10-15 minutes. It kind of shows you here, this thing up here shows you kind of what it's looking like as far as the process it's going to print. So you see here, it starts like this, and boom, 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 and it's going to print like that, okay? You see it says add support, just go ahead and click that out, okay? Now, remember our disk, we're going to put that in here, and try not to bump the camera, okay? A lot of times these files and these cheap disks that come with the thing here, we need to make sure that this has the Ender 3v2. I don't want this one on here. This is a bin file for flashing firmware to a printer, so we'll use a different one. Okay. But a lot of times you'll need to go and fix this thing because Windows thinks something's wrong with it. Okay. Here it says there's nothing on this, supposedly. Okay. So we export to local. And you see how the name is really long? We just want to change this. So we do Ender 3 V2 Neo. And we'll go just, you know, I just keep it short. And then we'll go here and we'll find our disk, which is going to be, I think, E. Yeah. And we'll save it. And then it will say open local folder. Yes, click OK just to make sure that that's where it is. Okay. So now we can see it. It says G code. Okay. So now basically we're done here. Okay. Now it's a good idea to just go ahead and click eject and make sure you're ejecting the correct one. For some reason mine's not showing on here. So we removed it, and now we're going to go back over to the printer. Okay, so we're back over at the printer. Now this thing will go to sleep, and it has done that. So we need to go now back here to filament management. No, we don't need that. We just prepare. So we got to go back here, preheat PLA, because when it sits, it turns itself off on this particular firmware so that you're not just drawing a whole bunch of power for no reason. Okay, we'll push this back out of the way. For some reason, Creality has their cards upside down. Don't ask me why. All of the printers are usually normal. So we've got it set here. To 102. I don't know. It looks like it just did something weird, and this is kind of one of the things that sometimes happens when you let them sit too long. So we're going to go back here, preheat PLA. Okay. Now, the bed is heating up to 60. The print nozzle is heating up to 195. The print nozzle will heat pretty quick. It's the bed that's usually the slow part. These are not insulated on the bottom. So now what we're going to do, go here, we're on media, okay? And we see this file right here. Okay. In some cases, it would give you a preview. Okay. See? It gives us a preview. That's because we use Creality Print. It's a little harder. It tells us our estimated time is 1 hour and 52 minutes. It tells us we're going to use 3.75 millimeters of filament. The layer height is 0.2 millimeter, and volume. So we see here we're pretty close to the temperature. So I'm just going to wait for this to creep up before I push anything. 180, 182, 183, and 84, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. Okay. So what will happen is it will heat to this temperature. Now, if the G code tells it to do something else, as soon as I click print, and it reaches this temperature here, it will actually change it again. So I think what will happen is it's sliced at 200. It's going to change. So we'll hit print. Okay. And then our options are tune, pause, and stop until it starts doing anything. If you hit the tune menu, which is great because in case you have any problems, you can start adjusting your Z offset. Right now, we want to come in here and grab anything that's hanging off of there, and it's going to start to print. Okay, it'll home first, and then what it's going to do is it's going to run a test line. It's going to go one way and then back, and so that usually gives you enough time to figure out if it's not going to work correctly. So it starts extruding, you see right here, and then it goes back over it. And sometimes that'll get hung up on the tip and you need to catch it before it gets over there, because it'll drag the crap over there just like that. So right now it's going to start printing the boat, okay, and just like that. So it's kind of hard to see at first because the print head is always almost in the way. So until the height starts getting higher, it can be really difficult to actually watch this thing print. But you really need to pay attention to what's called the first layer here, okay? And I'm sorry for the guys that are not new to this on the channel that are watching this video. Just go ahead and watch something else, because this is for people that don't know what they're doing and are just getting started. So you need to watch that first layer, because it can happen is it can get stuck to the print nozzle and make a mess, or it's not sticking to the build plate. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong, or the temperature's too hot and it's just stringing all over the place, or it's too low of a temperature. So you really need to watch it when it's doing that. And you're gonna get down here and you're just gonna try and look, okay? Like I can see right now this one's actually not really working all that well, and that's probably because on a glass build sheet, what I do is I spray it with hairspray, and this one hasn't been sprayed in a while, and so the adhesion is not great. And if I walk away from this right now, I could end up with a big hairball of crap, and it looks like spaghetti, and the print will slip off, and the thing's just printing into midair. So that's sometimes the first layer is kind of questionable, and if you just let it go, it'll be okay. But usually if you start to see problems, the best thing you do is just start over. And this one here is probably a perfect example of that. So sometimes you're going to be doing this when you get a brand new printer. You might be doing this 4 or 5 times, and you're going to go in here to your tune, and you're going to adjust your Z offset. That's usually going to be the issue, okay? Apart from bed adhesion, if the Z offset is too far or too close, you'll end up with problems. So we're gonna let this go a little bit so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about, and we'll go ahead and we'll restart this print, and I'll show you what you're gonna do when you have these kind of problems. So a lot of people, they make videos and they don't show you what to do when there's problems, and I watched tons and tons of videos when I first got started, and most people are just trying to sell you some product or something. It seems like they just want a company to send them a free printer, and they talk about how great that printer is, even though it's a piece of crap. And then you don't know any better, and you're new, and you believe them, and then you go buy that piece of crap printer, and you're just like, oh man, what the hell? I just spent $200 and something on this thing, and I could have bought a printer for half of that would be 10 times better. So it's just kind of how it works. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. So we had a little booger hanging off of here, and it did smooth out on the nose, but it's possible that our print temperature is actually too high. So we would go here at what's this hot end temp, and we're at 200. I want it at 190. We'll go ahead and click that, and then click back. So we're already at 4%. Let's see if I can get in here, and you can see what this thing is doing. Okay, there we go. Alright, so you see the nozzle is really hard to see because of that print head. You can see that dual gear extruder moving. So what we'll do now is maybe I can edit the video later and make this all speed up. And put it in like some kind of time lapse, because it's basically going to do this for about an hour and a half or 2 hours almost. Just depends on your settings. So usually if you've made it to this point and you're not printing too fast, you should be fine. As long as there's not a change in temperature in the room, or you're printing too hot. If you're printing too hot, and the fan can't, compensate for that, then you're gonna have problems. So one of the reasons to print a little bit hotter is so you can flow the filament a little faster. And I honestly think that these particular printers, your basically best option is to print at the recommended factory print settings. If you want to print really fast, this isn't the printer to do with. This is a printer that you set it up, you use it how it is, and it's going to be really reliable once you get to that point. Once you get the print bed set up and you figure out your bed leveling and your Z offset, and what each filament that you get a hold of is going to act differently. The temperatures affect how the print turns out, how it looks, the quality, the sheen, all that. So if you're printing too fast, get a kind of a dull look. If you're printing too slow, it could over extrude. So there's lots of things that can go wrong. But I mean, these are really, really good printer to start with when you're new. And I mean, when you learn to use one of these, you'll learn to be able to run anything there is out there. And the thing that's really nice about these is that the parts for them are super cheap. There's lots of modifications that you can buy. This one here would normally have the extruder. Let me zoom out. It would normally Alright, that's it. So that's the Benchy. It's done. And you can wait till it cools off and separate it, or try and peel it off ahead of time. Need to get the other piece off of here. So this one's not perfect, but you get some artifacts and stuff in here. So you need to, make some changes in the settings of the slicer. But, I mean, this is the first go with this one. There's lots of settings that can be manipulated and changed in the slicer. Retraction settings, extrusion settings, lots of things. But, a lot of printers won't even print this good, after screwing around with them. So, this is what it prints like, and you know, I mean, it's not super fast, but you can make it print faster if you want to fiddle around with it. So, thanks for watching.